Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today I'm using some products from Waffle Flower. I'm using this little set called A Little Note, and then the sentiments and dies is from Simply Said 1, I believe. So just full disclosure, made this card like feels like 100 years ago. But A Little Note with the floral portion of it is actually not available in the Waffle Flower store anymore. And I think when I looked, Simon Says Stamp only had like one. With that said, because Waffle Flower uses the same illustrators, there are several other flower sets in this same style that I will link. So if you're interested in, this particular style, there will be options for you. It just won't be this specific one. I apologize. When I made the card and I looked, it was still there. But then now it's not. So here we are. And I figured, well, it was better to share the video and then maybe just link something else than not, put up anything. So I wanted something that was really kind of bold and dramatic, but was really pretty simple for me, just because at the time I was making it, I was in a little bit of a funk. So I've picked out some really pretty blue and teal colors. You can see right now, like, the ink blending looks like trash. Trash, but you just got to stick with it, and eventually it does get better and smooth out. I opted to make my edges darker and my center lighter, which will, from a viewer point, will automatically draw your eye to the center, and really just kind of highlight that portion, which is where my sentiment will be. And so that's the game plan. It was very challenging for me not to mess with the background at all, not to do splatters or the perfect pearls or any of that, but just to leave it really just kind of clean and bold. It was very challenging, but I managed to make my way through. So just going to continually add those on. If you have difficulty ink blending, you want to make sure that you're starting off of the paper and moving in a circular motion, and you can see even doing that, like, there is still some that is patchy, but I always go over mine twice, just because I feel like it gives me a much better blend, and it just makes my color smoother and more saturated. So if you think it looks like trash, keep going, like, keep adding more pigment to it, because eventually it does start to get better. So once we've gone from the lightest color out to the darkest, then we're going to go from the darkest back into the lightest, and this will be the second round. I also want to say thank you. Thank you guys for all of your wonderful comments and love and support and prayers on my last video. Obviously, is a challenging time for my family. But I do appreciate your support and just kind of hanging in there with me while I took a little bit of a break. I have several other videos that need voiceovers. Those do need to be edited, but hopefully I'm getting to get back on a more regular schedule. Not that this year I have been on a particularly regular schedule, because I have not been, for a couple of reasons. I have not been on a regular schedule because we have been doing the furniture, which I feel like we're super backed up on. Only on my own timeline, but I just feel like I thought that we would be further along, and this one project that we're working on right now has been just 5 ever. Like, it has been such a nightmare project, just because it's so involved. It is a full dining room set with a full china cabinet that's one piece. It doesn't come apart. So the table, the one piece china cabinet, and then 6 chairs. So it's just the stripping process and the sanding process and everything's just very time consuming. But this week, finally, I am 2 top coating. So praise Jesus, hallelujah, we can get this thing out of our garage and move on to the next thing. Also, we're always busier in the warmer months. Like, we just are. There's just more to do. Whereas, like, in the winter, Eric doesn't have to necessarily split his time with the outside and the inside. So he has a little bit more time now, because, like, the grass needs to be cut, and there's weeds and mulch and, all of those things. Also, he has been spending his time, because he's fantastic. Um, Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Fixing Nathan's playset, which had like the portion where the swings are, like the wood was rotting out, and then the roof needed to be replaced. So he has been spending his time doing that. Couple all of that with the fact that both of our departments that we work for have no people. Like, I don't have to tell you, what the political climate is right now for law enforcement. Nobody wants to do this job. And even before that happened, even before people, were so vehemently against police, it's hard to find people who want to do this job, because it is a thankless job. Whether you're a police officer or dispatcher or really just any sort of public service. So, back to the coloring. So I've stamped out all of my flowers in Copic Safe ink. And then I just wanted something that was really, because my background was super dark and bold, I wanted some lighter color flowers that would kind of pop off that background. So I did put down a little bit of yellow in the center, a very pale yellow, and then I'm going to be doing some shading with some lighter pinks. When you're coloring pastel colors and you still want dimension, you can't leave out the darker colors altogether. Okay, you can't, or you're not going to have any dimensions, just be a flat image. But you do want to use substantially less of them, which I'm terrible at. Like, I'm not great at because I want to put down the same amount of pigment that I normally do. So I really have to take my time and kind of keep myself in check to make sure that I'm not putting down too much color. But really your shadows should only be in your shadow areas. The way that this particular illustrator draws, which I do enjoy her style very much, she does kind of give you some pointers as to where to put your shading, and I am just following along with that. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm not trying to make it something it's not. I am just following along with the shading lines that she has already given me, and I'm really doing only just like a line or two lines, especially when it comes to my darkest colors. Now, when I color, because I go lightest to darkest, darkest to lightest, my coloring always, the first time, or like the first layer, always looks pretty segregated. But then now I'm going to be going back through and kind of blending those colors together. They are going to look a little bit darker just on this stark white paper, but once we add the greens to the leaves and then cut these out and put them on the background, like, you'll see how light they look. So that's what we're doing here. So our departments, like, nobody has any people, and both of us are working overtime that we voluntarily pick up, and overtime that we're mandated to stay for, that we don't have a choice. That, you're the body at work and somebody calls off, or there's, some sort of situation where they're just shorthanded because during COVID, nobody could really hire. And then even now that there is hiring, like, nobody wants the job for either one of us, because the schedule's not great, the vacation time's not great. The only reason I switched jobs when I did was because they were offering what they call a lateral transfer, so I didn't lose my vacation time. I had to wait a year for it, but like, that time was still there for me. Otherwise, I totally never would have done it. So yeah, that's that. The biggest reason and most most time consuming for me, not because like I was busy doing anything, but just because I was exhausted, that we did not have really a whole lot of movement as far as like March, April, May, is because we're pregnant. So that's in much brighter news than the last video. We are pregnant. We are due November 3rd. So we're super excited about that, about a new addition to our family. We are approximately 5 months right now. So my first trimester was super exhausting, like so tiring. So I really was not very productive, I mean, quite honestly, with anything. With cards, with the furniture, with cleaning my house, with really just anything. I was not doing a whole lot, but just, sitting on the couch, making a human. So, yeah, and we had announced that if you follow me on social media, we had chose to share that Mother's Day weekend, and then Graham passed away that Thursday. Um, so it just didn't really feel like it was. I wanted to tell you guys about Graham first, before we moved on to any other stories or happenings in our life. Um, so several people in my just like regular everyday life typically ask, "Well, do you know what you're having?" We are not going to find out. We are going to be surprised in November, or to end of October, whenever this child decides to come. Nathan was 2 weeks early, and he was my first child. So my mom, like, I was the last one and I was 2 weeks late. So I just was really just setting myself up for the rest of my life, because I am late to everything now. Like, nothing's really changed. So I knew in utero that I was just going to be untimely, I guess. So we'll see what we end up with here. But yeah, we are not going to find out. We are going to be surprised. So that's been exciting. We are, trying to rearrange things in our home to prepare for, a nursery that we didn't have before or need before. And so we're just trying to do all of those things. We decided, furniture wise, that since children's furniture gets just destroyed, I mean, if you have kids, you know this, they color on them, they chew them, they hit them with things, it just doesn't stay nice. So we are going to, since Nathan is a little bit older now, I had a queen set when Eric and I got married. He had a king bed, but like piecemeal dresser and like hand me down dresser and chest. So in our bedroom, we are using his king size bed and my queen set furniture, which really is not great for us because the drawers aren't really that deep and we have too many items for the amount of drawer space that we have. Plus, we do have a walk-in closet. It's on the smaller side, but we share that space as well. So, because we both work in public service, like just uniforms in general take up like a quarter of our of our space in our walk-in closet. And then you always have your section for like your dress clothes that you never wear but you have to have in case you have a wedding or a funeral, that are shoved in the back of the closet, like those types of things. So we decided that we were going to take Peanuts furniture, his not his twin bed, obviously, but like his dresser and his chest, and repaint that and put that in the baby's room. We're going to give him the queen bed. He's already been sleeping in it for however many months now anyway. So we're going to give him that bed into his room. And then he'll have a full set like that all matches. And then we purchased a new set for ourselves. So that has deeper drawers, which is super nice. So back to the card. So now all the coloring is done. I'm going to go ahead and cut these out with the matching dies. Again, the set is super pretty and I love it, but there are several sets that are super similar to this, that I will link if you like the style. For the sentiment, I decided to go with Sending Hugs. The sentiment set is still available and it's a really good one for just general sentiments, but I'm going to be heat embossing this on black, so I'm using my powder tool there. My camera totally went out of focus, but I don't really know why. And then I'm going to be stamping in Hero Arts Unicorn ink, just because I thought that I would have a better chance at a solid image if I stamped in white and then heat embossed in white. I never use pigment ink outside of Distress Oxides, which is a combination like hybrid, unless I'm going to be heat embossing them, because I'm so impatient and I cannot wait for them to dry. I'm on the struggle bus with that. So I'm gonna, like I said, heat emboss this in white. And then I also have the coordinating dies for this sentiment as well, which I will be using to cut them out. Just because they're super like intricate, and trying to cut them out I think would be a nightmare. So this is one of those. I don't typically use a lot of dies, but this is one of those ones where I'm super glad that I have them, because no thank you. So yeah, so we ordered our furniture back in March, April, and it's about to be July. So they have kind of been getting these pieces in like pieces parts. I don't know if any of you have ordered furniture, but it just seems to be, on a whole, there's just a backup in the furniture industry. So we wanted to order early to make sure that we would have everything that we needed. So they have been calling us to schedule delivery, but they didn't have everything, and I wasn't going to store the furniture for them, honestly. So we were kind of waiting until everything was here, which seems to be, there was one piece missing for our family room, because we ordered not just our bedroom furniture, but we ordered new family room furniture as well, which has really been on our radar to do since we got married. It just hadn't happened. So here, I love a bold black outline. Don't do what I do. Do as I say. I should have done this before I cut them out, because it would have been so much easier instead of chasing around these little die cuts. But I did what I did, and I made it work. But really, make it easier on yourself if you're going to outline them, and do it before you do the die cutting. Here, I did have some spots that were a little bit splotchy where my heat embossing was. So in order to fill those in, I'm just using my white gel pen. I've used this trick a ton, and it totally works. Just make sure you give yourself enough dry time that you're not going to be smearing it. Because as you're going over like that heat embossing, it is a raised surface that's going to repel the ink. So you have to wait for that part to dry. Here I have everything laid out how I want it, and I'm going to adhere my single flowers down flat. I was just trying to make the bunches a little bit bigger. So I'm going to adhere those down flat, and then I think it's been a while, but I'm pretty sure I popped up the other ones, like to give them a little bit of dimension. Don't quote me. We'll find out together here in about like 10 seconds ish. And then I just adhered my sentiment down flat. So yeah, so waiting on furniture. We did order family room furniture, and we're going to put because right now our front room still has no furniture, even though we've lived here for like 2 years. So we're going to move the stuff that's in our family room, which is my old furniture from my previous house, the Kelly's Critter Cottage. We're going to move that into the front room, and then the new furniture will go in the family room. Thankfully, we're not really doing any repainting outside of the nursery. But the game plan was always to repaint that, even when it was just a spare bedroom, because the color is so hideous. In this morning light, it looks yellow. In the evening, it looks like a spring green, lime greenish color. It's not good. So the game plan was always to kind of take that out of there. And now, we'll be painting it more of a neutral color, since we aren't going to know what Baby Taylor is going to be until they make their debut. So yeah, I did pop these up, and you can see how some of like the flowers on the top are overhanging. That's really no big deal. I'm just going to flip my panel over and trim those pieces off. On the bottom, there wasn't really anything that hung over too much, so there wasn't really anything to trim. And then once that is done, I will go ahead and mount it to a card base. I felt like my center was a little bit naked, so I used some white, I don't even think they're rhinestones. I think they're more like pearl, some sort of pearl rhinestone combination, epoxy something. These are from Honeybee, and this one's the rainbow package, which totally suits me, you know that. And so I'm going to put those down just to kind of fill in that space. I wish I had maybe a slightly bigger one, but I didn't. So I used what I had. And then, of course, the glitters, the clear glitters on the flowers and the little buds that are in there. And then that's it. That pretty much completes the card. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Hopefully I will have another video up here soon. But yeah, that's it. I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye.